Situated at the foot of the landmark Rotunda building, the site of the Mulberry Bush pub is now a tourist information office. But on the night of November the 21st, 1974, it was packed with payday drinkers. 10 people died when the bomb exploded, 2 of them just passers-by. Now their stories have been told by those closest to them. Coin collector and movie fan Michael Beasley was a regular. Ironically, on the night he died, he'd given a lucky Cornish pixie charm to the landlord's wife, which he'd found on the bus. Electrician Stanley Bodman was with a group of friends who were always stood at the bar. He was one of the funniest, kindest people, his son Paul told the jury. James Caddick lived in Aston with his partner, whom he intended to marry. He was a porter at the Birmingham markets and another regular at the Mulberry Bush. A Second World War soldier and later a postman at Birmingham New Street Station, John Jones was described as an honest and unassuming man by his son George. John Rowlands was also a former serviceman. His son Paul said, "My dad was a rock." The electrician was killed alongside several others in their drinking group. Trevor Thrupp's son Paul said of his railway guard father, "We all want one more day with him so we can tell him what an amazing job he did." One of 7 children, Charles Gray, had moved from Scotland to Birmingham. He was said to have an easy charm and a slight air of mystery. It was his first time in the Mulberry Bush. Pamela Palmer's sister Pauline said she'd worked in an office. Her companionship and kindness is a memory I treasure, she told the jury. One of 2 friends walking outside the Mulberry Bush was Paul Davis, aged 17. His son Paul said, "His spirit lives on in me," and his daughter Michelle said she's been told he had a heart of gold. Sadly, no photograph exists of the other friend, 16-year-old Neil Marsh, who was known as Tommy. His cousin Danielle said Tommy died as a child. She added he was full of life and vibrant. In New Street, just yards away from the first explosion, drinkers downstairs at what was then the Tavern in the town heard a dull thud and felt a rumble. 10 minutes later, the second bomb went off there, killing a further 11 people. The jury also listened this afternoon to the details of their lives. 20-year-old Maureen Roberts was described as happy-go-lucky with striking auburn hair the colour of gold when the sun shone on it. Her boyfriend was planning to propose to her. Marilyn Nash was a supervisor at Miss Selfridge. She died alongside her friend Anne Hayes in the tavern. Marilyn was 20 years old. James Craig didn't succumb to his injuries until 2.5 weeks after the bombings. The car factory worker loved football and motorbikes, according to his brother Bill. Maxine Hambleton's dream was to become a lawyer. A light that was extinguished forever was how she was described by her sisters Julie and Jane. Birmingham City fan Lynn Bennett was on a first date when she died. Her younger sister Claire said they did not get the chance to grow up together, to become women together. Only child Stephen Wally was Lynn Bennett's date on that night. His mother's words to the inquest were, "It's too painful for me to remember any of the memories I have." Brian Davis spoke of his sister Jane, who wanted to be a nuclear physicist. He said it was like a light went out when she died, alongside her close friend Maxine Hambleton. Thomas Chater was a part-time barman at the tavern. The 28-year-old was a very sociable character, said his fiancée Susan. He died in hospital a week after the explosions. Anne Hayes was an apprentice hairdresser and a shop assistant. She was just 19 years old when she was killed while meeting her friend Marilyn Nash. One family, though, suffered a double loss. Brothers Eugene and Desmond Riley died as they celebrated the news that Desmond was to become a father. Their brother Sean said the bombers took away our brothers' futures and part of ours too. 21 lives lived to the full but lost in just a few seconds, leaving countless others changed forever.